I will now be reading out the resolution of the seminar on Kashmir Black Day. Noting the ongoing grave human rights violations in Indian-occupied Jammu and Kashmir, in particular since India's unilateral abrogation of Articles 370 and 35A of the Indian Constitution on August 5, 2019, that abolished Kashmir's autonomy and opened the floodgates to illegal settlers from outside Kashmir. Noting India's defiance of calls by human rights organizations, including the 5 UN Special Rapporteurs, expressing grave concern about the human rights situation arising out of the ongoing lockdown of 8 million Kashmiris in Indian-occupied Kashmir, condemning the denial of basic needs of the Kashmiris, including access to food and medicines, as well as freedom of movement and freedom to worship, condemning the use of pellet guns by the Indian-occupied forces to willfully blind a whole generation of Kashmiris, mostly youth, in the thousands. Recalling UN Security Council resolutions on Kashmir, resolutions 38, 39, 47, 51, 80, 91, 96, 98, 122, 123, 126, UN CIP resolution that, inter alia, promised Kashmiris their right to self-determination, underscoring that the UN has a responsibility towards stopping the Kashmiris' systematic genocide by Indian occupation forces. Noting with deep concern India's policy to systematically change the demography in Indian-occupied Kashmir to convert Muslim-majority Kashmiris into a minority. Expressing deep concern on the arbitrary arrest of over 13,000 Kashmiri youth with their fate unknown. Recalling the massacres committed in Indian-occupied Kashmir by Indian occupation forces between 1990 and 2018. Noting India's blatant violation of UNSC resolutions on Kashmir, the UN Charter, and international humanitarian laws. Whereas the human rights situation of the people of Jammu and Kashmir under Indian occupation continues to deteriorate. Whereas the culture of impunity has continued as per the June 14, 2018 and July 8, 2019 reports of the UN High Commissioner for Human Rights. Whereas India maintains an occupation force of more than 900,000 troops in Jammu and Kashmir, the participants at this seminar organized by the Friends of Kashmir Canada therefore call on India to cease forthwith all human rights violations of the people of Jammu and Kashmir, call on India to withdraw all its troops, including armed constabulary from Jammu and Kashmir, particularly from cities and towns and villages, to enable resumption of normal life and create enabling environment for the plebiscite to be held under the auspices of the UN as enshrined in the UNSC resolutions on Kashmir. Calls upon the United Nations to assume its responsibility of organizing the plebiscite under its supervision. Urge the UN and other relevant forums to investigate all massacres, gang rapes, fake encounters, forced disappearances, and willful blinding of children using pellet guns committed by the Indian occupation forces and Hindu terrorist organizations like the RSS and bring perpetrators to justice. Requests all governments to exert pressure on India to ensure its compliance with international obligations flowing from humanitarian and human rights law, as well as UNSC resolutions. Until such compliance, India should be subjected to trade sanctions. Urge human rights organizations and peace and justice activists to cooperate with the Friends of Kashmir Canada to establish an independent war crimes tribunal to prosecute Indian rulers for war crimes. For all who support the resolution, please raise your hand. All opposed? The resolution passes. Jazakallah khair.